Hi guys, welcome in fellow Earthlings. So today's pick a card is focusing on what is your red flags and what are the red flags of the person that you have in mind. Then some guidance at the end because we all want to grow from a conflicting situation or a toxic situation. You never want to get stuck in cycles that just waste your beautiful time. So it's all about growth. And I know it's difficult. I know we go through phases, but it is all supposed to be part of our evolution. Just going to go on a mini tangent. I see a lot of things in the tarot community, and I do understand there is a lot of toxicity. People really being trapped by the delusions, and people not choosing them, and why people might be leaving the tarot community, etc., etc. And I just think, everyone has their own free will to do whatever they want, and we all, even as tarot readers, have our own beliefs. Whereas some people think that you can't have God in your life and you can't also do tarot. Well, I'm not in that camp. I believe in God. I believe in the afterlife. I'm highly spiritual. So was my mother, and she was a great reader. She could channel energy very well, and she believed in God, in Jesus. But the same with me, I am not into organized religion, and I don't think personally it's good to go from one extreme to the other. Any sort of extremist beliefs, I think, is just not good. In life, it's about finding that balance. So if you go from being one end of the spectrum, it's only believing in divinity through the tool of tarot, and then shunning that and going to the extremist end of religion. I personally don't think that that's healthy. But if this is your journey in life, then that's fair enough. But I fail to see why there can't be a meeting in the middle, why you can't alchemize both. Because to me, it's essentially one and the same. But I certainly don't, if that's your path, then that's your path. I don't think, as a, if one needs discipline, if one needs meaning, but I believe in autonomy. Back to the pick a card. I'm sure people who are watching know what I'm talking about. It isn't good to deceive vulnerable people with tarot. And there's a lot of it going around, and it's the same with AI. People watch tarot for all different reasons, and if you're stuck in that addictive loop of wanting affirmation of something we can't see, you're really supposed to break through that. You're supposed to grow from that, because it's just wasting so much of your beautiful time and energy. But no one can force growth. So that's why whenever readers say, please use your discernment and don't try to make things fit, otherwise you can deceive yourself in ways. And if you know that it's not your energy, and if you know that the situation doesn't seem like yours, then it is fine not to be yours. Okay, on we go. So pick a card. So it's focusing on your red flags, their red flags. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It can be the person that you have in mind. So for group one, the creator. Group two, the destroyer. And group three, the disdainer. The disdainer. The sustainer. So it is the primordial triad of existence. Choose which one aligns with you. Use your intuition. Focusing on the situation at hand, on the person. Focus on yourself. What's missing from your life at the moment? What are your frustrations? So we have the creator, the game, 22, the destroyer, 23, and the sustainer, 24. And I will see you lovelies in your reading. Hello, hello, hello. Group 1, you chose the Creator. So let's connect to your energy first, so you will know if the reading's for you. So you chose the Creator. You are someone that sees themselves as the fire starter, the upstarter. You're the one that begins things. You're the one that has the courage to initiate. You like to build support networks. You're the go-to. You like to lift people up. Sometimes you can remain stagnant, or you have that fear of starting in case of failure. So that sounds like you. Pull some oracle. Okay. So the energy surrounding group 1. Energy surround. Oh, this one went flying. Perception. So you could be dealing with a distorted perception of someone else, or this could be yourself, and you're trying to regain a healthier perception of self, a healthier perception of the situation that you're in. And you're at an impasse. You could be at an impasse in what choices to make in life, an impasse with this person. You could be stubborn. Could have been all systems go, and then we see orange, and then you're at the amber. And renewal. Look, that's come beautifully. Green, amber, and red. And as you chose the Creator card, you're going through this transition of where you may have distorted perception of a situation or person, and they weren't willing to meet you halfway. There was unnecessary conflict. Got you feeling confused, got you feeling stagnant. You expected more from them. You tried to be open, but you were met with roadblocks. And you're trying to grow from the situation. You'll be dealing with a distorted masculine here, was a distorted feminine. Could have recently gone to an event, some sort of ball, prom, wedding. So if that sounds like your situation, we're going to look at your red flags now. Your red flags. And the good thing is, when we become aware of our own limitations and our own red flags, well, what do we do next? Then we can focus on them. And we want to become unfuckwithable. Okay, so group 1's red flags. What are group 1's red flags that they aren't seeing? 2 of Wands, the impasse also. Perhaps you're an idealist. You get lost in fantasy. 6 of Swords. And we have impasse, and then we have the 6 of Swords. We'll do one more. Oh, it fell. I'll do 4 as this fell, so I see it. Prince of Wands. Okay, so one more. Oh, wow. You may be someone who is quite dominant. You can tend to leave people behind, because your energy can be quite passionate and chaotic at times. You're headstrong, and you tend to focus, you put yourself first. You could be hyper independent. You may get lost in the fantasy, in the heat of the moment, in the passion for things, in the you know, the go-getter, the ambitious one seeks to control their environment, to dominate it. Whenever you do this in a connection, it leaves people confused. Perhaps you don't need their help. Perhaps they don't have anything of value to add. And I don't mean that you're deceptive intentionally. It's just the vibe, the energy that you give off. And then this may leave you feeling confused. Why can the person not understand? I do want them in my life. Because if there are heated words exchanged, you could have a tendency to say things and then regret them, and then you can't take them back. So impulsively state things, weighs up their options, and go for things impulsively and then leave them just as quick. You could use it as an excuse. Focusing on me, I'm just building my legacy. I'm putting myself first. And while that is great, one needs to be careful that we have other people's consideration in mind. Because yes, you are the main character in your life. If we don't have consideration for others, how can we expect others to have consideration for us? That others see, they're going to use that to try to understand you, right? So if you come across as confusing and you're not really supportive in the other, or have compassion how they may view things, it's going to cause conflict if we don't take accountability for our part in things. So your red flags is the tendency to thrill seeking and passion and control before others without consideration. And you may not do it maliciously. It's just what happens in the aftermath. You may not be aware of this. You could think you're just living your life. It could be Sagittarius, Leo, or Aries. Very dominant, very fiery. And people love that. You tend to like to thrill, the chase, the hunt. You like to begin things. You like to initiate. But it's the follow through, because you can get bored. Then there's people, places, and things left in the aftermath while you have moved on to what you perceive as fresher, more still waters, so you can create that same thrill again. If you're seeking a connection or a relationship and you want to foster them, stability is important also. You have the 10 of discs. You're seeking wealth, like you value your independence, you value legacy. It's not considering others within the legacy. To be able to share, whether that be ideas, sharing yourself, sharing your wealth, to not use, if you're challenged, not use that as an excuse to avoid growth, your work and your circumstances to escape accountability because it's boring to you, or you don't value what the other person is saying. And interpersonal relationships just don't work like that. If you're easily triggered by what another is saying, that's just a point where you can work on yourself and ask yourself, why are you being triggered? When someone challenges you, that's an opportunity to listen, to learn new skills. And you don't necessarily have to agree with them, but it's to understand that we all have an opinion and we all have our own feelings. And if you genuinely like the person that you're in the connection with, then you'll value what they have to say, and you'll value how they feel without running off, choosing whatever it is you want to do. And the other way to look at this is that you could be sacrificing your wealth, your abundance, and your independence by following thrills. Instead of focusing on building your own legacy, you're secondary to someone else's choices. This could be a sign to focus on yourself first. It could be that flip side. Take it how it resonates, because passion and heat and excitement is one thing. It shouldn't be the only option if it's interfering with your discs in life, with your health, if it's interfering with your inability to move to smoother waters. You're caught in that cycle of lust and power. Because you can always take your power back, you just choose differently, and whatever is the safest option for you. We just have to be careful about our assets and our resources, including emotional resource, and where we put that effort and what's going to make us more fulfilled in the long lasting, not sacrificing short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term change and lasting fulfillment. Okay, now we're going to look at the person that you have in mind now, group 1. So how is everyone doing? be dealing with a person who is high conflict. Maybe you are. Reactivity causes you more stress in the long run. Group ones, person on their mind. Acting to group one, person on their mind, red flags. I'm just going to give these one more shuffle. Person in group one's mind, the creator. Red flags. What are their red flags, please, Spirit? So I was talking about high conflict. So you could be the passionate one, or the other person thinks about what they have to say. Doesn't consider the impact. Can be quite cold, rigid. Withholds emotion. Because of that imbalance, you overreact more so than you would with any other person in a situation. But because this person may hold back a lot, or hold back the emotion a lot, and just move with cutting words, acerbic wit, when you're trying to be serious and relay emotions, and there's that clash. You could be dealing with someone who is a workaholic that travels for work or disassociates with work and doesn't connect to their heart chakra, doesn't connect to their sacral chakra in the way that you would appreciate. Or driven by intellect. So you could be dealing with air sign, you or your person, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and North Node. Apply it to. And one more, please, first. Red flag of the person. Let's take one. Okay, so this person finds a lot of love in what they do. They find it hard to access emotions, access that deeper love of self, and the ability to translate that into action and loving, gentle words in a connection, in a relationship. Their red flag can be misleading words, as we see the Two of Cups, or it's completely devoid of any affection, of any care. And they use work as an excuse to get out of situations. Let's say, I'm tired, I can't do this, I have work, I have these commitments. Just temperance. So they struggle to find balance in their life to where love and romance fits in. They struggle to even take care of themselves. They may overgive to other situations, especially whenever it comes to their finances or comes to their craft. Perhaps they bury their head in books, and not only do they neglect themselves, they neglect the people around them, and it can be maddening. And you may have brought forward how to fix the situation, and there was a conflict. There were angry words exchanged, fiery, heated passion, unnecessary, hurtful things said to one another. You want to fix the situation. There's blockages in how you communicate. One is more emotional than the other. One may appear less emotional, but it's how they communicate. Too blunt in a way that you're not used to, so the person can mirror. If you are blunt, group one, you could be an Aries, you could be a fire sign, or it could be a significant placement. And if you picked the creator card, you are that fire starter. But when someone meets you with the same attitude or straightforward data, that takes you aback because you aren't ready to be challenged, or they don't relay the information in a way that you like. But this is all perception, and it's wounds to work on, because a person can only be themselves. You can be a better version of yourself, but everyone has a personality, and everyone has a style, and everyone has a certain energy. Like if you're an air sign, you're going to be different than a fire sign, clearly. So it's about that compromise and meeting in the middle. And you both have discs. You both have that energy surrounding you. So you want to, or you have real life commitments. You have a career, you have a family. Does one neglect it? So do you neglect it? You neglect the commitment for love, for passion, for romance, while this person doesn't or refuses to. They're all about that. They won't, there is no leeway, there is no compromise. That's what they struggle with. They struggle with the balance of that because they feel like they're giving too many pieces away of themselves. That's what they feel like. That's their perception because they have it all tied up. So they almost weaponize that. They weaponize the busy lifestyle as a way to wriggle out of real connection outside of the physicality of a relationship. And if this isn't to do with romance, that sort of thing, and it's just friends or family, they would use it as a way to connect in other ways, like creative ways. They could shut down and just stonewall. They may take a long time to even reply. They may shy away from any sort of conversation that involves how they made someone feel, and they can get defensive and they can be quite rigid and quite stubborn and quite hurtful. So this person's red flag is about how to create healthy boundaries and to not be so cutting when it comes to people's lives, comes to people's feelings. If they're wanting to accept love in their life, they have to consider other people. They have to be open to a different way of showing and receiving the love. And that you don't have to lose, neither of you have to lose identity and lose the things that you love to do in life for the sake of a connection. It's not about that. You can have wonderful relationships if you're willing to accept your shadows and work on them. And it sounds, so accept your shadows and work on them. People think you go into, you don't necessarily always have to go into this deep dark place and block everyone out. I mean, yes, you take time to self-reflect, etc. But not everything is coming from this horrible dark place of trauma that hasn't been cracked at yet. Sometimes we just make mistakes and we F up, and we can be a little selfish because of the way the world is right now. We're disassociating, we're overworked, and just by default we can become a little more selfish because we're running on empty. A lot of people are running on empty and they're not giving themselves the self-love that they need, and then that reflects into your relationships, and it's just this vicious cycle of not listening and understanding one another because you're not listening to your own body. Okay, group one, let's get you some advice. Very serious read today. And I'm also all about the fun too. Like sometimes for me, it really is just about fun and entertainment. It doesn't have to be scary and deep and all this sort of stuff. I mean, life's serious enough as it is, and I'm not downplaying anyone's hard times and trauma. It's just I like to have a sense of humor about things. Like even if it was my last days on earth, I would still be laughing. My mother was laughing in her last hours, and she knew it was time to go. Okay, so your guidance and your advice is, what can I do to make a difference? So this could be a difference in your life, a difference in self-care. I'm just going to read this because we all know that I am blind. What keeps you up at night? What makes you cringe when you think about it, such that every ounce of you screams no more? Where can you create purpose out of your pain? So as I'm saying, to transmute it, to alchemize it, to rise above. Don't sit in that worry and the stress and the back and forth and the back and forth, like the running to escape that discomfort. Group one. Today's soul action. Make a difference in someone's life today, big or small, because all of it makes oh, I did not realize I was going whoa, whoa, whoa to the camera. Make a difference in someone's life today, big or small, because all of it makes a difference. And it does. When we practice humility and when we give out care, paying it forward, just for the sake of being kind, if you do these little rituals and you do it every day with pure of heart, sooner or later you'll realize that you feel better from a circumstance. It's not as bad as one thought. But when you're caught in those negative loops and the deep regret without moving forward, you're just doing yourself a disservice. And sometimes we have to step back from a connection that's harmful. It doesn't mean that there is no love or anything like that. It's just using your discernment and your dignity, to step back and say, this is not aligned with me. Not at the moment. Okay, group one. I hope that has helped. And I really do love you. And please like the video, exchange the energy. It really does mean a lot. It's hard for new creators, especially with AI. Some people just really don't care. They just want that dopamine hit. But if you're here and you genuinely like my readings and you want to learn about yourself, learn about people, and create a nice community, it would mean a lot. But if not, thanks again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, 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 group two. You chose the Destroyer, so right away I thought of Scorpio or Pluto influence. So you could be Scorpio yourself, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, or North Node, or if you have a person in mind, platonic or otherwise, they could also be, or you could have synastry in that group too. I'm just going to check the energy. If this speaks to you, your situation, then we'll dive further in. And if it's not for you, that's fine. You can just choose another pile or click off. Okay? Don't try to force it. Remember, use your discernment. So, the Destroyer. Group two, you are someone that likes to purify, is courageous in their pursuit of wiping everything away that isn't necessary in their life anymore. You can typically transmute dark times. You may be the one that people come to see truth. You can relate in a kind way, but you will give truth. You may be someone who is private in their struggles. You may cut people off quietly without any sort of drama. You just withdraw. You like to wipe the slate clean. And whenever you have moved forward and you are done, it's pretty cut and dry with you group two. That's fair enough. And typically, we go through the cycles of life. We're not always the same. So perhaps you may not have been kind with your words once, but you grew, you gained wisdom. You did go back to situations that were toxic more times than you needed to. But again, you learn from it. You can see scars in people, but you see it as the necessary part of life. Things must be destroyed and things must be released for you to move on. So you may have gone through a significant loss. This could be animal, this could be self, this could be people in your life, job, releasing the old baggage and grieving it. Releasing vanity, external validation defines your worth. So releasing that. Releasing things that seem to have more depth than they initially expressed or feigned, fake, deep. It's more in the name of vanity. You want to release toxicity. Break free from environments that no longer serve you. Group two. We can all be vain, but it's to the level of which there's other ways to be vain. Self-righteousness, things like that, rejection. So you may have rejected someone recently, or someone may have rejected you for the sake of how it looked to others, for their own ego. one more and I'll just. The general energy for group 2, growth. Exactly validating what I was saying. Can't see that, so can we see it if we put them? Projection, growth. So destroyer, that's exactly what it is, group 2. To release old patterns, old baggage, the grief, the pain, so new things can grow. Destroy the BS and lay fertile ground for more beautiful things to grow, that are more in alignment, that are more refreshing, that are more uplifting, to be in your energy and in your presence. This can be a person's situation, or it can be the growth within self. So if someone rejected you, you are choosing to grow from it, not caring what it looks like on the outside, feeling embarrassed or how does it look, what are the neighbours going to say, what does my family say. To release that self-criticism, to release the chatter of others so you can grow. Because if we depend on the opinions of others, then you're not really growing because of fear. When it comes to negativity and doubt and people pushing their negative assumptions on you, or false ideals, fake ideology, that's going to leave you confused. Yes, we can grow and change whenever we're brought genuine constructive criticism by people that we care about in our life. So it could even be getting out of the addiction and the external validation of things like social media, things that don't matter, like people that you don't know in real life spouting things that are hurtful, echo chambers that are killing self-esteem and confidence, making you doubt, making you regret and reject your own beliefs. And that fear of losing oneself, you could want to lead an independent lifestyle that is different from cultural beliefs. You feel rejected by community, religious beliefs, cultural differences, a masculine like father figure, caregiver, cause stagnation because of how it looked. Superficial doesn't matter and you want to grow from the situation now. So this sounds like you. Let's jump in, group 2. Because you chose the destroyer. So at your fundamental core, there is this power within, but there's been something in your energy that's been really hurtful. So if it is real life loss, to give yourself time, perhaps a caregiver you had contention with, and if they have now passed, if they were harmful for you and they were stuck in their own wounds, you can grow from it now and let it go. Okay, group 2. Oh, what are group 2's red flags? Red flags they may not be aware of. The star. Perhaps given too much hope into situations that are fake, that are dressed in illusion. Going back to situations that already rejected your authentic self and you presented false self to feel accepted when you were vulnerable. Four of discs. So holding on to the idea that things may get better rather than working towards get better, giving up your power to people too easily, group 2. What suits their situation, their growth. Rejecting yourself instead of focusing on yourself. So your lessons take the long, hard road. And while you may be able to transmute it and you become stronger, illusions may get the better of you again due to circumstances or still past wounds that you haven't touched fully. When we go through a tragedy in life, it may seem we're not growing. It can take us to dark places. And sometimes when we don't have the energy or the capacity, unfortunately, people can take advantage of that. They could give you false hope. You release your power, you give up your power, taken advantage of. Assets that you have to advance in life You could be someone off status. You could be someone who is abundant, financially abundant. People may use that to climb the ladder, so to speak. Perhaps you overgave. You see the light in everyone. The refusal to see the red flags is your red flag. It hits you in the face. You know, sometimes we really can be blinded. In my Vedic, I am a Scorpio moon and I'm a Scorpio Mars. I can read energy really well. I can always see through people's BS and I just know, I just get the vibes. But then there's that one time I don't. And it's like my intuition is niggling. But then I like to tell myself, oh, perhaps I'm just overthinking. And we all do it. We all do it. And especially if you're a feminine, all of us can in some capacity. That's why they say love is blind. And whether this is platonic or otherwise, because we do want to see the best in people and we don't want to be cold. So there's that fine line of knowing when to step back. The Empress came out, an Empress who is fully in her power. She's magnetic, is giving, but strong boundaries. She cannot be used. They have to come correct. Your red flag is not fully knowing your power as the Empress. You're the wounded Empress at times. Not all the time, but that can flip in certain dynamics. And you're wanting to release that energy, the old coping mechanisms, the growth, and you have Star. Being hopeful for that change, but change is an action and sticking to it. You know, your ships come sailing in, but make sure they're yours and they're for you and it's what you want. Not have anyone else dictate your life for you, because then you get into these cycles and rumination of self-worth. You are the Empress. You have this power, but it's giving it up too easily for things presented to you as true. And if you are a little bit more idealistic, you can be given false hope. Being more aware of that, to watch patterns, because you could be with someone for 2 years and then you could move in with someone and then it's completely different. So you can never place that blame on yourself because you can only do so much. But then if you're ever presented with a situation, really focus on yourself in those moments and the safest and best route to get out of it, the best route of action for yourself, and not live in that guilt that you may be hurting someone else, even if they're actively hurting you, because it is not selfish to look after yourself when you're being harmed in any way. Perhaps you were someone that was always told that you're selfish because you see patterns, and when you did choose yourself, you were called selfish, inconsiderate, and there's that wound there where you doubt yourself. Are you being selfish? Because you can see other people's motives. You do have that depth. But with wounds, it can get distorted. We're not going to be on top all the time. Remember, we're having a human experience. Your red flag is giving away your power because you cling to the idealism and you were used. And maybe at a time, if you felt lonely and it filled a void, then people took it too far. A situation went too far. So in knowing these red flags, you can reclaim your power and your self-love. We see the swan. The swan is about gentle transformation. And we have this right below growth. So this is all in your energy group 2. This is merely one part of the multi-dimensional universe we live in. And it's all in the choices we make, and it's all in the energy we give out, because there are many different realities and they can change at any minute. That's why we say energies are interchangeable, because nothing is ever fixed. Things can change all the time in a split of a moment, in a split of a second. That's why to keep your vibration as high as possible. And we will go through bad moments, and you're the destroyer. Bad moments are inevitable for growth and change. It's how we deal, our perception. How long do we stay in these damaging environments and damaging self-belief? That's what matters. And you don't rush it, obviously. But the more clear-headed you become, you realize to stay stuck in the low vibrational energy or a situation or connection is doing yourself a disservice. It's the one thing that is poisoning you essentially. And you're the one empowered. You can make the decision to stop the cycle, to not overgive, to not let people use your Empress energy, to not idealize people, and not let people idealize you either, as that can be feed into the self-righteous vanity of things. Okay, now let's look for the person you have in mind. To reject things that don't align with you is not selfish, and it's the only way things can grow, because nothing grows in a place that made it ill. Because if the illness is still leaking through the cracks, then it's going to continue to poison the regrowth. Ooh, the cards. I don't know why Darb. Do you know the Jennifer Aniston was in the movie Leprechaun? Leprechaun's symbolic group 2. Cards are jumping everywhere. Okay, so group 2, the person you have in mind, this can be family, friend, romantic connection, actual connection, because I know some people aren't actually into romance. Okay, so into romance. I often thought of that because asexuality is a spectrum, but I do love romance. I do like that sort of connection, but everyone's different. Okay, so group 2. Also, vanity of labels. I'm hearing to reject them. You don't want to be, I'm hearing even clout chaser, or there could be people in your circle that is. Okay, so red flags of the person group 2 have in mind, please, Spirit. Cruelty. We're dealing with air sign, air energy. Oh. So there could be tower moments happening in this person's life. They may create chaos everywhere they go with harsh words. Their red flags is to be really hurtful. Perhaps even use their moods as an excuse to be hurtful, to be cruel, to reject people, to ghost, to shut down, to not give any explanations, to be in victimhood. Now, Prince of Wands. Could be shallow. You got vanity. Their red flags could be the inability to go deeper, to commit, to put meaning on things, to have that label of the player and to be proud of it, to leaving people in limbo and not able to see another person's perspective. Their perspective and their actions come before anyone else's. The Queen of Cups. Yeah. So they use love, words of love. They use actions. Perhaps they were love. They are love bombers. Now this doesn't, as I say, this doesn't have to be romantic. You can get it from family also, you know, the old switch and bait, like they're inconsistent actions, their words and behaviour don't align, and they can take all the time in the world out and they can ghost for a long time with no change. Very conflicted personality and energies you're dealing with group 2. So you could be dealing with Gemini, could be dealing with Cancer and Pisces. Just a wounded, fragmented personality. Someone who hasn't integrated yet. Maybe struggling with mental health. Could be cruel to self, and then it's reflected in moments of passionate exchange, of mean words, using you and using people for love. Knowing that they can't reciprocate it, but it's under the illusion that they can if they come in hot and cold. So it can be quite deceptive to self. Someone who tends to mix up love and infatuation, not able to tell the difference. Lasting love takes effort, sustainability, instead of really working on themselves and how they can produce that, because consistent effort is what creates self-worth. When people don't feel good enough, they won't put in the effort, and that's like a negative feedback loop. You're essentially just feeding that loop, because you're giving up again, you're giving up your power if you do that. And that is their power and control, by leaving people before they leave them, by keeping them confused in a state of limbo, by using people's hearts against them, weaponizing their feelings, being really confrontational when called out. So this person's red flag is they haven't integrated themselves, and they're able to dissociate and compartmentalize people and emotions. There's a lot of inner conflict, tends to get deflected onto the other person that they are dealing with. They may have promised moments of space and silence that change would come, and they will focus on self-care while they continued to have dopamine hits elsewhere. So no real change happens. It's just going around in cycles with a roster or with changes that just never occur. And they're too tired to make the change. It causing so much guilt in what they do that they shut that down. They shut the love in themselves down to remain in control. Because this person has the power to change, has the power to break free and create the structure in their life to evolve, to waste that time. Toxic stagnation rather than acceptance. Presenting themselves in one way, not staying consistent, reverting to old patterns. The weaponizing their issues to not evolve, essentially. So whether that be, mental health or cruel words, that so they use that as an excuse by essentially becoming the thing that they don't like, to not tap into the real reasons why and the energies why, and tap into a different perspective. Blocking the Queen of Cups, the ultimate form of that love, the unconditional love of self and for others, in that cycle of being cruel. The ability to turn people's lives upside down, all for the sake of escapism. Let's get you some advice. Some advice, group 2, The Destroyer. Isn't there a wrestler or something? There's a movie called The Destroyer. They're heavy energies today. However, they're all there for an opportunity to grow. And growth doesn't even coming quick, coming fast. Once you realize things that can change, the seeds are planted. So whether it materializes now or a few months or years, hopefully it's not years, but change will happen if you want it. That's just the key thing. If you don't, then you stay stuck. So group 2, your advice. Where am I with my health goals? Where do I want to be? Why am I not there? What will it take for me to feel well? So we saw the release in your energy, the rejection, the growth. So if you were ill, you may still be, and you're focusing on your health. This is confirmation. You may have had people that didn't support you on your growth journey towards health, and that's really hurt you. Spirit has shown us that the red flags in yourself, your shadows that you haven't fully confronted yet, is the overgiving and the projecting your good heart onto others and assuming they're going to make the same choices. And unfortunately, that's just not how it works. So we have to be discerning. We have to put ourselves first. If my body could talk, it would say, today's soul action. Oh, feathers, love. Is there feathers in all of them? Oh my, I can't believe I didn't notice that. Wait, let me see. Oh my god, there is. Right, I'm going to blame my ADHD. ADHD, like people tend to, we remember everything, but just not at the appropriate time. So someone in this connection can have ADHD or be neurodivergent. Today's soul action: feed your body but it needs to feel nourished, appreciated, and loved. Make some new, exciting goals to take your health to the next level. Yes, and do not care what anyone else says. If it brings value to your life, focus on you, you keep doing you, and prioritize your health. Don't compromise your health for anyone else. You need to be whole in you, and you need to be well and functional for you to carry out your mission in life, whatever that may be. And if you are a healer, if that's your job, if that's your career, it's to take steps on what will help you grow and construct the boundaries that keep you healthy so you can continue your own soul's growth. Change is in action. You cannot think your way out of things. You can't, unfortunately, and you can't dig your way out of low self worth by thinking. You have to show up. Okay. Passionate read, my dear group 2. I hope that was helpful. Like the video, exchange the energy. I'd be so grateful. Keeps me motivated and it helps build the community. You know I love ya. See you in the next one. Hello. This is Stainer Earthling. Hi, group 3. Do you want to know a secret, group 3? My breath smells of garlic because I took a garlic pill on an empty stomach. Why did I do that? Because I'm silly. So someone could really like garlic. Someone could be a chef into sustainability, eating well, in practices in wellness. You chose the sustainer because you like to practice remaining grounded, maintaining good health, maintaining friendships, being that powerhouse of solidarity. Oh goodness. Regrowth, brighter things on the horizon. If the energy speaks to you, that means the reading is for you. Okie. Let's give this a shuffle. Shuffle. Okay, so group 3, the sustainer. What can be sustained? Is it worth sustaining? Group 3's general energy, please, Spirit. Discovery. Okay. Really connecting to your heart chakra. Sustaining worth valuable things, not necessarily things that have potential, as that's wasting resources, that's wasting energy. There has to be, do you see that confirmation? There has to be balance. When you do discover new things, whether this be a new relationship, a new connection, a new cycle with a family member, it's maintaining that balance. So you have to make sure you don't overgive or you don't put too much reliance on one option. It's to weigh up all the options that's going to create a better life for yourself, for your family, for your community. So you're a very heart-centered person. Could be a water sign. Could be dealing with a Libra. You could be discovering someone in your life that isn't able to bring balance, facade. That they wore a mask. That they gave the impression that they could bring and add value to your life. Perhaps things were hidden. This could be obsessions or addictions to anything. The facade of being a healed person hasn't done the connection to self, hasn't tried to integrate or understand past mistakes to transmute or be a better, healthier person in connections or relationships. This could be a parent-child connection. Victim. Okay. So you could be discovering that there are people and there are situations in your life where unfortunately they prefer to hang on to being the victim of a circumstance rather than accepting what can change. When relying on that, that means you don't have to grow. You don't have to face any uncomfortability. You don't have to move on, because sometimes holding on to that anger gives people a reason to be shitty. And that's just the truth. They're not willing to face the facade that they created. And is this you, group 3? Are you only discovering that you've been holding a facade for too long and victimhood for too long? And now you're discovering, you know what, there actually is a different way to life. So take it how it resonates. Fall can be symbolic. Someone could have issues with some sort of addiction. Let's check your energy. Group 3. So group 3. Group 3's red flags. Group 3's red flag spirit. But they may not know or understand group 3's red flags. Strongest energies. Please, spirit. Okay. Okay. So do you tend to self-isolate and sustain your power that way, in a way that is maladaptive? Futility. 7 of Wands. Do you think that you try to move forward and then fall back into the patterns of self-blame, staying in that victimhood? If you're holding on to a connection in the past, whether this be a caregiver, or sister, or ex, or whatever, just a connection, a human connection. And if you're stuck in that resentment, nothing can grow. And you may face the world with the facade that everything's okay. You may face the person and tell them everything's okay, and they don't know. They can't change it. So say, for example, if you don't come forward and say what's bothering you and you expect them to read your mind, well, then you're always going to go around in that loop, because we're just not, like, we can do pattern recognition, we can connect to people in dreams, we can do, but in the real world, in the 5D, to communicate, or sorry, not in the 5D, in the 3D, in interpersonal relationships, if you don't come forward with your truth and you leave people guessing, you stay in that trapped position of blaming externally others. It's their fault. Perhaps it's you think, oh, it's not my fault, it was them. But then your growth is being affected by it. You can't move on from it. You don't get to elevate and actually feel what it's like to be free from those shackles, to not feel that pain, or even to break free from numbness. So your red flag thus far is thinking that, it was funny that I was talking about, I think it might have been in pile 2, that trying, and then it's that with the self-worth, it's like, if I don't, why would I try whenever it's not good enough? So I don't try, and then you're stuck in that cycle. It's like, for you to achieve a sense of self-worth that is genuine, like a genuine self-worth that's not based on the external, it's you just putting in the effort to things. It's not fearing the rejection, knowing that you showed up, you did your best, and then you put your focus somewhere else. And to not stay stuck and really take it to heart. Because the shadow side, if you are someone that fears the change and stays stuck and stagnant because they're afraid to face new beginnings, they're afraid of change, afraid to really face the feelings, it's a disservice to yourself. And you pass that on to others. It's, generational trauma. Ace of Wands. To have genuine ideas and you think that they aren't good enough to share, they're not good enough to start. I spoke about that fear of rejection, the fear of not being good enough, that perfectionism, not starting anything unless it's going to be perfect. But it's all in the experience of things. I mean, if no one did anything unless they were perfect, you work through it. We all can, but it's first you recognize, but then it's putting in the steps bit by bit not about speed, to face the fear of things being crappy and things being messy, because that's just how it is. And it has to do with wounds and criticism from your past relationships. Could be childhood, or exes, or a boss, or even to withhold your ideas from others. And as I say, if you don't speak your truth to the person that you're in a connection with or you're in conflict with, how are they going to know? How can this situation ever be addressed if you go into hermit mode and you isolate yourself, and you basically won't hand them the key that can provide a solution for the situation? Defeat. Five of Swords. Your red flag, group 2, is that you chose the sustainer, but you find it hard to sustain a healthy connection with yourself and in real life, because you tend to withdraw from the situation. You tend to self isolate, and you tend not to share your gifts with that fear of not being good enough. You've already admitted defeat before you've even started. So it's that repeating loop of I'm going to fail. So if you keep manifesting that you're going to fail, you inadvertently manifest that, because your actions are going to be that of a person who fails if they don't try. Do you get what I mean? So it's, of course you're going to fail if you're stuck that way. Because if you retreat, you're like, oh, this connection's really good. You know what? It's going to fail. So why would I even put my effort in it? I'll sabotage it some way and then just go back to my little safety net and sustain my old patterns, instead of using the Ace of Wands to create a new way to beat that idea in your head that it will always turn out wrong. It will always end in tears. All new ways end in defeat, or defeat of self. To be afraid that someone won't accept you for who you are. So you could be dealing with a Virgo, or you could be dealing with air sign or fire sign. Apply it to your sun, moon, rising, and Venus. So to isolate, to self-isolate, to not connect to that creative force and the self-belief. You chose the sustainer because you have that as your fundamental core. You are able to sustain self-belief and to sustain relationships that are aligned with you. But it's getting rid of that defeatist attitude, getting rid of the victim attitude. One way or another, we go through things in life, sometimes terrible things, and we can never change that, and it's never your fault. You regain empowerment by moving forward, changing your perception, sharing your gifts and ideas with others. Because if you were faced with criticism and you hold on to that wound, that was on them. That's their negativity. Belief in oneself. To not take too much time out to yourself where it becomes, you're not able to co-regulate with someone. You self-soothe by complete isolation, but it's to the point of disassociation from the actual task and the actual reality at hand. So the sustainability becomes fractured. Now, let's look at the person that you have in mind. To lead with your heart, group 3, and not be used in the name of stagnancy, even if it feels comfortable, because you will sustain a certain amount of misery, and that's not what you want. You want to have an open heart and to help others that have been victimized in the same way, or dealing with that self-limiting beliefs. You want to break free from generational patterns, showing up a different way, even if it's messy. To not be afraid of being perceived, because to be perceived is to be alive. And to criticize is one thing. We can learn from it. But dealing with people that are overly critical, it's to learn to just step back from that energy, because you can't change it. You can just step back from it and withhold your access to things that aren't lifting you up, that don't value who you are, because you do have value. You're the grounding presence, group 3. When you deal with your shadows, you can sustain anything beautiful that you want to. Red flags for the person group 2 has in mind. Can you see? Red flags for the person group 2 has in mind. Please, Spirit. I hope my phone battery doesn't die. Someone could work in technology. Okay. Interesting that this person, because I say you could have being that grounding force or having that desire of sustainability. You could also be an earth sign. Oh, one more. Love. So this person's red flags are that they mistake work, external achievements, external pleasures for love. Materialistic value gives them a sense of love. The Chariot. Their red flag is that they take too long to show up, to show love in a way that the other person that they deal with in life needs it. It's not that they don't want to, it's just that they're slow moving. They tend not to trust love that isn't practical. Love that moves too quickly makes them cautious. And if they came in fast and then halted on the brakes, that's also their red flag. Charging in with ideals of love, but them being afraid and being shocked by the practicalities, by the sustained effort that it takes about actively showing up and listening and considering another person, and understanding that love is shown in all different ways. So this person either puts too much emphasis into the materialistic world, into their discs, into work, to prove their self-worth, or they use gifts, they buy people's love. They can manipulate connections by status, by showing all that they have without offering a deeper sort of love. The confusion on what people need, not understanding different types of love languages, and by the time that they do, they're too slow to pick up this change. The realizations come too late. So putting a lot of effort into perhaps the wrong things, into that emotional growth that goes to the wayside, chasing things that give them self-worth from external, and then they can move on to the next because they realize that it's not sustainable, because there is no depth there. It's just practicality. They want to feel nurtured, and they really place value in that structured lifestyle and having control, having a sense of pride in what they've achieved in life and what they can do and their skills, what they can provide. So either not able to receive a love from another person in a different way because they have to be in control, or not giving enough of this practical effort. So take it how it resonates. Giving the facade that they have their life sorted out, giving the impression that they don't need depth. They have it all figured out. They're independent. They know where their life's going. Giving the impression that they move with intention when they don't. They're conflicted in how to move in relationships. If you're dealing with a wounded masculine, they may think that it's all work. And that's enough to sustain a connection if they provide materialistically. But they're lacking that connection to the heart. They're lacking that depth. They're lacking the affection that you need in any connection, whether that be words of affirmation, keeping their word, providing the sustainability with other facets of a relationship and what comes with a whole healthy relationship. They may put on the brakes when a label is asked for, or if they feel too much, they may pump the brakes, especially if they feel that their everyday life, they're feeling this loss of control, they'll bury their head into work, expansion, into their health, into their inner circle. But it will be met with blockages because they don't like to lose control. They don't like to tap into their heart space. They like to control the movement of connections. Placing way too much emphasis, again, on the earthly pleasures or the sustainable assets. Yes, we all need them to survive. We all need them in our everyday life to get through, to get by. But when someone's disconnected from their heart space, it can feel very rigid. It can feel cold. The nurturing and that level of feeling seen is gone. You feel invisible. A victim of that circumstance, like the hermit, isolated. You are in control, group 3. You can withdraw your energy and move towards something more aligned. Sometimes it really is just a mismatch of energy. And a lot of people they don't change with words. You could speak and you could honestly talk for hours on end, and if someone's rigid and stubborn and on top of their game, if they are successful, really achieving in their career choice, then they won't want to let that go. If that's their biggest source of achievement and that's what they can trust in, then it's going to be difficult to want to let go of that, to let their nurturing side shine through. Perhaps they've been used before in the past, and I mean emotionally. You want something, group 3, that you can sustain and what's fair to you, as you don't want to be a victim of anyone else's circumstance. The twins can be some. I am back, group 3. My battery died. Of course it did. So it would be hard for them to give up that sense of control, especially if they worked really hard for it. If they put in all their effort and all their sustainability into building their own kingdom where they are in control, they are the ruler, they're at the top, they lead, they make the decisions. It's going to be difficult for a person to let go of that control and to let people into their heart space. It would be frightening. They would be afraid of losing not only that control, but their position in society, their position in a career. You could be dealing with someone and you work at the same establishment. You could be dealing with someone within your career. You could cross paths with them, and there could be conflict and jealousy in that way, which causes them to grip tighter onto their ideals, onto their presentation of the world. If someone bases their worth on their skills, on their ability to build legacy for themselves, to try and break through the walls that they have built, and if they haven't understood boundaries yet, and boundaries are there for protection, but they're not there to be walls that don't let other experiences and other feelings and ideas in. A boundary is there for protection, but a wall is difficult to break down. It's like a fortress where they become fixed and stubborn. Their inability to see any other way other than the way that has given them success. So it make you mean you do understand it, right? It's like that's if that's their identity and that's their sole basis of self-worth, and it is what works for them. It is going to be very difficult for a person to change what works for them. It is selfish, and it's extremely difficult in interpersonal relationships where another person needs another kind of love. There's that misalignment. But just from that perspective, it should help you understand why they are in that position and why they may be rigid. And then if you base your worth on how this person is and their red flags, it triggers your red flags, and you lose your power to sustain your own goals, to sustain your own life, your own happiness, your contentment, and you retreat. You lose power. You give up. And this person's actions is not anything to do with you. It's how they've learned to deal in life. And the misalignment, if it hurts you, to stop blaming yourself for other people's coping mechanisms. And you renew, you begin regrowth in self and step into your power and know that you are that person. It's just misalignment happens all the time. No one takes your power unless you allow them. No one can control your mind. And even if they do momentarily, regaining the strength to know you are that be, male or female. You know, I was seeing, what's that called? The Scottish movie with Mel Gibson. It's like, you'll take my life, but never take my freedom. Let thoughts and feelings flow. Go with the ebb and flow of life. Understand you will be met with walls, but you can get through. You can move on. You can sidestep. You can align to better things that are more in line with your heart, with your wants and needs. Because if someone isn't willing to meet you halfway and compromise, then the person isn't for you. Not in that time and space. And you shouldn't have to bend to anyone else's will. That's what people mean when they say take care of yourself, like self-care. It's not in the ultimate selfish way where you don't consider other people. It's whenever someone doesn't consider you, so you don't overgive. Because why give to things, people, and situations that aren't willing to do the same for you? It's not worth it. You stay stuck in shadow. Let them. It's not a game. And especially whenever you're up into your big ages. We know our worth. You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. Now, for your advice, my beautiful group 3. Your advice for group 3, please. Advice for group 3, please. Oh, that came out fast. Oh, pretty pink feather. So pink could be someone's favorite color, and someone could be a new mother. That could be with fur babies. That could be with scaly babies, not necessarily children. And I'm also hearing there could have been that trap of future faking. This person's red flag could be, I can give you that life. I have it all to sustain a family, but doesn't really put in the effort in any other facets, but only provides materialistically, not emotionally. There's not a lot of compassion and empathy there, but expects it from others, and then withdraws and controls the speed of a relationship where you can get your life wasted. Burn with desire. Oh no, so what do we read first? Okay, so if I had a magic wand and could have anything I desire in life, what would I choose? And this is really important. Think about today. A lot of kids today don't know critical thinking in the way that we would have way before social media. People don't really know how to think for themselves unless they have something else to influence them. The critical thinking and original thought is dying, and it is so sad. Intelligence hasn't increased. We always are better than the generation before us, and not this time. And it's because of the internet and social media. And sometimes, sorry, because my brain moves really quickly, my mouth doesn't move fast enough, so I can misspeak and the improper grammar sometimes, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I just think that's a tragedy. I think if I had children, they wouldn't be allowed the internet. I don't think so. It would be difficult, but not if homeschooled, I suppose. That's what I mean. It's about having choices in life and sustaining the choice that you want, not that you think that you should choose. Group 3. Go with your heart's desire, not what you think you should do, because that is killing your soul. It puts your light out. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that. You know, like little kids don't even really understand what they really enjoy without being told it. And I mean, many adults too, but it's different nowadays. Burn with desire. There is power in your desires. Let them be your fuel today. Your desires are your soul's wings, and it's time to take flight. So you got the hermit, and that's really good. When you take time out to really consider what is it that you want in life, what is best for you, that's when it's used in a positive way. To isolate yourself, to contemplate on the value and where you put your efforts into, who and what. Today, go inward. Your answers lie within. What do you desire? Choose what makes you happy and do that. Not what you're supposed to do. And again, not being afraid of failing. Keep trying different things until something clicks. You don't have to stay fixed on something if you don't like it. Obviously, there's going to be nuance, you know, where it comes with career and it comes with money, bringing it in to survive. I get that, but you can have hobbies, you can associate with different people, you can branch out. You don't have to do it all alone in self-protection. You can take time out from society, but you can also connect with yourself and with your wants and desires and do that unashamedly. So that is your advice, my beautiful group 3. Those readings, whew, zapped me. Okay, group 3, thank you so much for watching. I hope it has helped. Like the video, exchange the energy. I would love the community to grow. It means a lot to me. I do enjoy entertaining content also, because it doesn't have to be so dark and deep all the time. We can laugh with change, we can laugh with transformation. I take the time to really connect with the strongest energies that will help even just to touch just to touch one of my subscribers. That's good enough for me. Okay, well, enough of my waffling today. It's been very passionate. I really want to help people and not have them feel that they're alone and they're stagnant and there's no way out, because there always is. And it's not always going to be the easiest way. Sometimes the hardest things, that's where the real fulfillment comes from, in the journey itself. And then before you know it, the transformation has happened. You haven't even noticed. You just know that you don't feel how you used to feel. Okay, so I'll see you in the next one. Love ya.